What is up, everybody? Welcome to today's Unstoppable Live. I'm super excited to have you guys over here. If you can hear me, if you can see me, go ahead and hit me with a yes in the chat. And then we're going to jump into today's topic, which is 7 SaaS examples to get you inspired, to get you to be starting a business, starting a SaaS business, building a scalable SaaS business. If you can hear me, see me, hit me with a yes. Super pumped to be here. If you are watching on YouTube, welcome to the Unstoppable community. We drop an episode 3 times a week, and sometimes we do lives like this to help you scale your SaaS business, help you even start a SaaS business and scale your SaaS business. So if you're new, welcome. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and that bell icon so that you get notified every single time I drop an episode or do a live like this. If you're joining me on the webinar, welcome. That means you're part of the community. It's super awesome to have you over here. I'm so pumped. So we're going to jump right into the content. We have a lot of content to cover today, so I'm going to jump right into it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you sort of my playbook on how to start a scalable SaaS business, how to build one, how to launch one. And I'm going to tell you that through the eyes of 7 SaaS examples that I think will inspire you and it will help you actually get started. So I want to just kind of quickly understand how many of you are about to start a SaaS business. You're like, hey, I want to start a SaaS business. Write down start in the comments and put enter. If you already have a business and you're looking to scale it, then put scale in the comments. That way I want to make sure that everyone, all the content I have today is relevant for you. Now, in this channel, I have a ton of videos on how to scale SaaS businesses. I don't have as much on starting or digging deep, so that's what I'm excited about. So most of you I'm hearing are starting. There's a couple of you that are scaling. So this should be relevant for all of you, but it'll be particularly relevant for those of you that are looking to start a SaaS business. If you're scaling, I have a ton of videos on go-to-market strategy. Check out my playlist in my YouTube channel. But everyone should get value here. So I'm going to dig into that. Now, all the stuff I'm teaching you here today is based off of content and training and coaching that I do inside of my SaaS launch program. I have 2 programs, coaching programs. One is SaaS Launch, that helps you launch a SaaS business and get started. The other is the SaaS Go-to-Market program, and that helps you scale your SaaS business. So a lot of the stuff, what I'm doing is I've took out some of this content from inside of my program, and I'm going to be sharing it with you so you can kind of get your start and really start to propel forward. Quick background on me, if we're meeting for the first time, welcome. I'm TK. I've been a SaaS founder, SaaS entrepreneur, SaaS operator for the last 15 years. I started my first company called HipCow. It was an online calendaring company, and then I sold it to Plaxo. They were a SaaS business as well. I did a short stint at Bridgewater, one of the best hedge funds in the world, built software there. Then I started my own SaaS business again. I started ToutApp. We were pioneers in the sales engagement space. We were backed by Andreessen Horowitz. I sold ToutApp to Marketo. Marketo was backed by Vista. They were the pioneers in marketing automation. I worked at Marketo as SVP of strategy. We did a 2-year transformation, and then we sold it to Adobe for $4.75 billion. And now I'm on a mission to help founders like you start SaaS businesses, build SaaS businesses, and scale SaaS businesses here at Unstoppable. So that's what I focus on. So everything that I'm going to be sharing with you comes from about 15 years of experience as a founder, as an executive across multiple SaaS businesses. So that's what we'll be doing. Now, I want to make sure you're in the right place. This webinar is for you. If it's not for you, it's not for certain people. I don't want to waste anyone's time. Number one, if you're just a dabbler, if you're never really going to start a SaaS business, if you're never really going to take the plunge, you might not want us to waste your time. If you don't have a little bit of grit, SaaS businesses are incredible, but if you don't have a little bit of grit, then it's not for you. SaaS businesses are hard, but very rewarding. Also, I'm going to give you 45 minutes of my best training, and then I'm going to tell you about my coaching programs. If you get annoyed by that kind of thing, I like to be upfront. It's just FYI, I'm going to do that. So you can leave now. I don't want to piss anyone off. But settle in and stick around if this is you. If you'd like to build a SaaS business, if you want a framework that accelerates your path to results, then you should stick around. If you value the principle of measure twice, cut once, then this is for you. That's what I really value. And if you'd rather focus on building a unique engine rather than reinventing the wheel, meaning you want to follow the framework so you don't make old mistakes, you're making new mistakes, and you're actually building the core unique IP of your SaaS business, then this is all for you. So I want to just get that disclaimer out of the way because I don't want to piss anyone off. And I want to make sure that you're in the right room. So if you are these things, you're in the right room. I'm excited to dig in. on my 7 SaaS examples and how to actually build a scalable SaaS business. Now, here's the thing. In all my years of building SaaS businesses, I learned one thing. The one thing is great SaaS businesses aren't just by luck. There's 3 things that come together to actually make SaaS businesses powerful. And I'm going to dig into these. The first one is you need a great market strategy. Market strategy meaning what is the core group of people you're serving? What is the problem? Is it urgent? Is it important? Like, market is more important than anything else. You can have a tremendous team and a phenomenal product, but if the market's not there, it won't matter. You can actually have a really great market and a mediocre team and a mediocre product, and you're still going to do great because the market's just so strong. And that's important to remember. A lot of times we get so enamored with the idea, we forget to check if there's a great market or not. And this is going to be important because this is where my SaaS examples come into play. I'm going to dig more into them. But market is more important than anything else, more important than features, more important than team. We don't like to think about it, but it's true. The second thing you need is a great product strategy. A lot of times, and I'll dig more into this later, founders get stuck on the one more feature trap, especially when you're starting. And I'll be talking about why product strategy is super important. And the third is go-to-market. So you have market, product, and then go-to-market. Go-to-market takes your product to the market. That's how you go to market. And go-to-market is often missed or forgotten, especially by technical founders. I've been there. I was a technical founder. I still am a technical founder. And so go-to-market is just as important. When you have these 3 pillars, then you have a great and successful and scalable SaaS business. So that's the big thing that I learned. So the 3 secrets I'm going to be sharing with you is what market is everything. And I'm going to give you my 7 examples. So kind of short circuit that on how to find great markets. The second is how great products are about loops. We'll be digging into that. And third is how you should build an audience first as you're scaling a SaaS business or building a SaaS business. So I want to dig into the first one. Who's ready to dig into the first one? If you are, hit me with a yes in the chat. Who wants to dig more into the 7 SaaS examples and why market is everything and how you can actually, I have a trick for this. I have a trick for you to find the best markets and how I found the best SaaS examples. So who wants to dig into it so you can actually pick the right market? Hit me with a market in the chat and then we're going to dig into it while I take some water. Okay, I'm getting a bunch of yeses. Cool. All right, let's jump into it. So market is more important than anything, especially when you're starting a SaaS business. And this is one of the most counterintuitive things because, you know, if you think about raising money or raising capital, you want to go after a really large total addressable market, right? But the thing is, first of all, you think about Amazon. Amazon started by selling books online, right? And that was like a weird market to be in. But they were like, no, this is super niche. And I think enough people care about books, so they're going to buy it online. And then now Amazon sells everything everywhere, pretty much. But the whole dichotomy here is you got to go after a really large market. But as you're starting, you have to start really small and be very specific. And that's where like this dichotomy always trips people up because they think that they have to go after a really large market and go after a really large idea. So they go after this large thing and nothing happens because you're all over the place. So this weird thing with the market strategy is you got to go after a really large problem, but start with a very small niche and then expand from there. And it kind of messes with your head, which is why inside of the program, we always get people to think about, well, who is your ideal customer? Like, what is your ideal customer profile? And if you have everyone in the world, who's the ideal customer? Who's a very specific group of people that has a very urgent and important problem that you're solving? And how do you get into that? You pick the right market, everything else becomes easier. Now, you might be wondering like, hey, how do I find a great market? Like, how do I know it's any good? I'm glad you asked. This is where my 7 SaaS examples come in. This is my trick to finding great SaaS ideas and great markets. Are you guys ready for this? What I look for, if I'm starting a SaaS business today, if I were to start one, if I were a founder, if I were in your shoes, if I want to find a great SaaS business, what I would do, if I want to find a great market, is I would look at SaaS startups today raising a Series B. Okay. So there are certain rounds, there are certain funding stages that you go through as a startup. There's the pre-seed where really, investors are betting on the team. You don't even have a product yet. You may have an idea and they're like betting on you, the person. That's pre-seed. Then you have seed. At that point, you have an idea, maybe you have a little bit of revenues and you have a great team and the product's looking promising. That's when you raise a seed. Then you start generating revenues. You have quality revenues. When you have quality revenues, then you raise a Series A, right? Once you have quality revenues, then you raise a Series B so you can actually scale really fast and go after as much of the market as possible, because now you've proven the market and the product, and you have that product market fit, and now you're going to scale it. This is why Series B startups are super important, because what they've done is they've already found a great market for you. So what that means is when you have a SaaS company that raises Series B, they're in a great market. They have a great market strategy, at least theoretically. I mean, that's why they were able to get that funding, but they're still in the early days and they need to scale. All right. And at the same time, there's tons of TAM to capture, meaning all these VC firms that invested in their A and their B and their seed did the math and figured out there's a big enough market here for us to stand a chance. But this tiny little Series B company that raised $45 million hasn't captured it yet, which means you have a great market to go after. Are you guys getting this? What that means is there's a SaaS startup that, Series B companies are maybe like 80 people, maybe like 100 people, maybe like 50, different, like, and in that zone. So that means they're tiny companies going after really large markets. And there's a clear product and they have figured all that stuff out. That is a ripe market to go after. Are you guys getting this? This is the trick to find great SaaS examples. So if you're starting a company, go look at all the Series B fundraisers and you'll start to see where all the hot markets are. Who's with me on this so far? If you're with me, if you're starting to see the magic in this and the power in this, hit me with a yes in the chat. Now, here's the thing. It's likely going to be a 2+ horse race, meaning if you are going after this market and you might say like, well, they already raised $45 million. Who are we? Here's the thing. They're so early. There's so much execution risk. There's so many things that could go wrong. They could get acquired. Any number of things can happen. And even if they're wildly successful, that means there's still going to be a second company going after it. There's always going to be at least 2 companies. You always see 2 companies winning in any given category. So if there's a market, if there's a large enough TAM there, there's going to be multiple companies that win there. And they're all going to be like the number 1, number 2 can be like pretty much the same size eventually. And that's why it's so powerful to find the right market. So you might be wondering, hey, how do I find Series B companies? 2 ways. One, you can just do a Google search on SaaS Series B funded 2020, and you get this page. Or if you want to spend money on it, you can go buy a license to Crunchbase Pro. And they literally have a query builder. You can go in and say, I want to see all the Series B fundings over the last 90 days where it was equity, right? You don't want any debt or weird private equity stuff. So you just want equity funding. And you get all the Series Bs right over here. And based on that, you can start to look at what market is super ripe and relevant for you. So that's the super powerful part of this. Like you can just literally just do a Google search and say SaaS Series B funding 2020, and you get this list. Or you can go to Crunchbase, sign up for a license, and you can find these. I'm going to give you some of my favorites. I'm going to give you my 7 of my favorite SaaS businesses that did Series B that I really like. That, if you're looking for an idea, looking for examples of like great spaces to go into, you can consider these. Doesn't mean you can compete, but they're great markets. I'm going to tell you how to actually build a product so you can compete and get a go-to-market. That comes later. Who's with me so far? Who wants to dig into 7 examples? Hit me with a yes. Okay, we're gonna dig into it. Also, I want to make sure everything is working properly on the YouTube. Yeah, that's looking good. Cool. All right, let's dig into the first one. So this is the first one. They raised a Series B at a $250 million valuation, and it's called Squire. Squire is essentially an all-in-one platform for barbershops. That's it. It's for barbershops. This is one of the things that I absolutely love about SaaS. You would be amazed how big little markets are. You would it's like, hey, we make SaaS software for barbershops. Like, how big can that possibly be? Apparently, it's huge. It's a huge market. And right now, they're pretty much the only ones that are leading in this way. And they raised at a $250 million valuation, raised $45 million in equity capital and $15 million in debt. Like, that is awesome. These guys are killing it. They're crushing it. And guess what? Is Squire going to be the only SaaS business servicing barbershops, let's say in the next 5 years? Absolutely not. It's going to be a 2-horse race or a 3-horse race. There might be consolidation in the space, but one thing we know is this is a great market, and that's super powerful. Next SaaS example, Stencil. Stencil is helps you create emails. and they raised a $16 million Series B funding. It's not as crazy as Squire, but still, it's awesome. And it's crazy that in 2021, a startup can still raise money around marketing and marketing emails. That's crazy, right? They said email was dying, TikTok was going to take over everything, and yet here we are. This is the power. You would not have guessed it, but here you are realizing that, wow, there's still a huge market in terms of marketing and email marketing. And these guys figured out a way to actually innovate. And that's super cool. They raised a $16 million round, Stencil, and you can go check out their website, and they slash email creation time by 90%. Every business is creating emails. There's probably a better way to do it, and they found a better way to do it. And what this shows is, even if you think that a market is matured and done, you can still disrupt a market, because marketing automation is now what, like 15, 20 years old. Sales engagement is 10 years old. Email marketing is like 30 years old. And so all those old platforms haven't innovated as quickly. So if you can go in and even take a core small part of that overall workflow, this company went and says, look, there's email planning, there's email creation, there's email designing, there's email sending, there's email follow-ups. We're just going to focus on this tiny piece around just crafting your email, and we're going to completely change it. And here they're actually raising Series B funding. That shows that there's a market, and now they're going to scale, which means there are other companies that can come into this as well. Third one, Boulevard, powerful technology with a personal touch. This one, they raised $27 million for its spa management software. And now, hopefully you're starting to see a pattern here. One thing that's happening because of COVID-19, there's a market trend where all these brick and mortar companies are investing in technology to innovate faster in a COVID-19 environment. They're trying to make sure that their customer experience is great. They're trying to make sure their retention is high. They're trying to make sure that payments are great. They're trying to make sure that the place is safe. They're trying to make sure that they don't have too many people there. They're managing their appointments appropriately. They're trying to make sure that they can run their operations in a streamlined way with less people. And that's why Squire is killing it. Boulevard is killing it, and you're starting to see these companies. And so Squire went after barbershops. Boulevard says, cool, we're just going to go after spa management software. And it just goes to show how many crazy markets there are. And this is why I really like this trick. You could sit in your corner and say, like, you know what, I really think that this problem should exist. That's one way to do it, and it's not the wrong way. The other way you can do it is say, hey, what are the hottest markets right now? And you look at Series B funding, you get the hottest markets. It's actually like an unfair trick. I probably shouldn't have even shared it, but I did. So here we are. Okay, next one, Usher. I actually had the co-founder of Usher on my podcast. I run a podcast called SaaS and Scotch. You can look for it on any podcast platform. And I had their founder on. Amazing founder. He's like a second or third time founder. There is $25 million for its no-code platform to build customer communication flows. So literally, it's a platform, and this is a real great market right now around conversational AI, right? People call up 800 numbers. They want to talk to brands. They want to get support. And there's literally not enough agents to get help fast enough. So now they're putting AI in there to actually have those communications, right? And no one wants to do the touch tone thing of press 3 to check your account balance. So here, these guys have realized that conversational AI is a great space, and it's going to be innovating. And there's lots of different verticals around it. So they're going after it. And they raised $25 million. Again, great space to go after, great market to go after. PandaDoc. So DocuSign went public, right? They were the original e-signature. And now there's a whole bunch of e-signature companies popping up. And that's crazy, right? This goes to show that just when you think a market is already cornered and it's already done, there's always room for innovation. There's different segments, there are different verticals. So in this case, PandaDoc announced a second Series B extension worth $30 million. So they extended their Series B. So they originally had a 15 million Series B, then they took out another 30. It's still on a Series B. Total of 3B investments of $50 million. Good for them. What that tells me is that, they're not quite graduating to Series C yet. So that means that they're still trying to scale, still trying to win. That still tells me it's a great market to go after. So PandaDoc, also great SaaS example. Pipefy. Next one is Pipefy raises $45 million for process pipeline management software. Sounds boring. However, incredible market, right? Smart workflows that make everyone feel like a champion. Workflows are super powerful. Again, when you start to think about one of the big market trends is operations, and how do you get people to do their work, especially now they're remote, they're out of the office, they can't talk to each other, they can't just chat with each other. So workflow is actually a really important market. And so you look at these guys, they're thinking about, hey, how do we actually create smart workflows and make people feel empowered and get feedback, especially in a COVID-19 world? That's super powerful. And so you'll see over here, Pipefy raises 45 million. What that tells me is that workflows are a really great market. What that also tells me is that there's so much TAM, and these guys are trying to deploy $45 million to go after that TAM. And if they're doing it, that means 2 other companies can do it as well. So incredible market to go after. I got one last one for you. That's my 7th example. And then I'm going to circle back into the 2 other pillars. Funnel, again, I was like, MarTech has like 1 billion companies underneath it. And yet they raised $47 million to automate data collection for marketers. Remember what I told you about niches? Like all of these companies, the reason I really like these examples is they're massive TAMs, even though they seem like it would be a niche. The only thing that these guys focus on is data collection for marketers. You would think like, wow, that's tiny compared to, I don't know, sending emails, conversational AI, CRM, marketing automation, like all, you're like, nope, this is a really hard problem. Every single company that has a marketing team needs it. Huge TAM, $47 million to deploy to go after that TAM. Tiny company, relatively speaking. So that means that you can go after this space as well. How many of you are getting the power in this? If you're starting to see the power of picking the right market first, before you write a line of code, before you think your idea is so great, getting the market strategy down right first. If you're starting to see the power in this, hit me with a yes in the chat. And then we're going to go into the secret number 2 while I drink some water. Okay, I'm getting a bunch of yeses between YouTube and the webinar. Okay, now, so once you have your market, you go to the second pillar. Because one thing you might be thinking is like, man, if they're raising Series B, they already have an engineering team. How can I compete? How do I even do this? Like if I wanted to enter this market. This is where secret number 2 comes. Great product is about loops and not features. And this is super important. One thing that you might feel is you go to a competitor that's already in a space and you identify a market, you're like, man, they have these 50 gazillion features. How will we ever catch up? It'll take us months, if not years, to catch up to those features. And how can we compete? Here's the thing. Here's the secret. The secret is not every feature is important. What's important is a certain workflow. And what that means is that in order for that Series B company to get to a Series B, they had to make and build a lot of features, try a lot of things, trial and error, a whole bunch of things, maybe go after multiple types of customers, and then they landed on this set of things that work. And more often than not, it's 20% of their overall features that are actually valuable to this market that they really honed in on. The rest of them, they were trial and erroring it. And what you need to do is figure out what that 20% is and figure out, well, what is the core result that matters the most? And this is true even if you're starting a company just from scratch and not competing against in the market. What is the core result your users trying to get? What is the problem that they have? And how many clicks? What is the fewest number of features? The 80-20 principle. What is the fewest number of features you need to get them to an aha moment and that result? And you just start with that. So what you're going to be able to do is just skip ahead in line. Instead of spending years on the trial and error that all these other companies that had to go through to get to their product market fit, and now they're trying to scale, you can say, cool, they already figured that out. We know this is the core set of features. This is the core market. It's validated. Let's just build that and let's catch up. And that's what I mean by it's about loops, not features. You don't have to build all the features. You don't have to do all the things. What you need to do is just say, look, let's just focus on the core loop. And regardless of whether you're going after this existing ripe market with a Series B company or you're going after a brand new market, this still is true. So often I'll talk to founders, especially founders that have some revenues and are looking to join my go-to-market program. That's my more advanced programs. And they're like, oh, I'm like still working on these 5-10 features, and then I think we're going to be able to scale. And I'm like, listen, there will always be more features. Though more features is not going to help you scale. What's going to help you scale is if you strengthen the core workflow, the core loop, the 5 things that you need to do over and over and over that really delivers that value. Once you have that, then people will get more connected to the software. It'll be easier to sell, and then you can earn the right to expand the footprint. So it's super important to get your product strategy right. If strategy number 1 is your market, and I just taught you how to pick the right markets, strategy number 2 is how do you actually hone in on the right product strategy? You don't need to go after all the features. You just need to get the 80-20 on that, really get that core product loop, that workflow working. Are you guys getting this? Does that make sense? Okay, I'm gonna go to secret number 3 now. Secret number 3 is go to market. A lot of times founders, especially when they're starting out, they over-index on product. They don't think about market, and they don't think about go to market, and they keep building and building, and they're like, this is going to be amazing. And then everyone will want to sign, and that never works. I've had, I told you about my successes, but there have been startups that I didn't follow this framework and I didn't succeed because I didn't think about the market first. I didn't think about go to market. I just kept building product because I'm a technical founder, and that's where I went wrong. And I don't want that to happen to you, which is why I always say, think about go to market right from the beginning. So the thing that I always say is you got to start with go to market right from the beginning. Now, here's the reason why. Only 4% of startups graduate from the seed stage. And by the time you raise a Series A, majority of them are generating cash. So what that tells me is that mortality rate for startups are really, really high, right? And this is why go-to-market is super important. And I'll tell you, let me explain why. Because you might be asking, like, where do founders go wrong? Here's the thing. Like, by the time, just think about like a founder that's raised a seed round. Let's just say you raised, I don't know, $1 million seed round, right? That's a small seed round these days. You raise $1 million seed. That means that, you'll have a cool name, you'll have the logo, you'll have the slick website, the blog, the social profiles, ads. Maybe you have an MVP, SEO, press release. You can do all these things. And that means that you can still not raise a Series A. Only 4% will actually graduate from that seed stage. The 96% of them will not raise a Series A, even after doing all these things. So the reason this exists is because founders tend to over-index on the product. They don't think about the actual go-to-market, and they don't think about the market. And the biggest thing that you'll learn is what you need to be doing instead is find a hot market, build an audience with them first, and then give them what they want. So the sequence is actually more backwards than anyone realizes when they're starting a company. Though they think it's like from first line of code, what are we building? What's the cool thing? What's the cool tech? And then how do we sell it? Instead, it's find a hot market. And I just taught you how to do that, Series B companies. Number 2 is ask them what they want. Build an audience with them. Get the go-to-market going before you write a line of product. Meaning, let's just say I want to go after, let's see, pick one, pick a favorite one. Which of these 7 examples did you guys like the most? We had, put it in the comments. We had Squire, Stencil, email creation, Boulevard, spa management, Usher, conversational AI, Pandadoc, e-signature, beyond e-signature, Pipefy, workflows. Which one did you guys like the most? Funnel, which is marketing data collection. Okay. All right. I'm getting a couple of Squires. I'm getting a funnel. Let's see. Let me check YouTube as well. Which one did you guys like the most? Okay. Wow. You guys really like Squire. I'm getting a bunch of Squires. Interesting. Okay. So let's just say you want to go after Squire. The way to do this, instead of writing, like the way to not do it now is say, oh, cool, barber software. I'm going to go build it. That's terrible. Do not do that. What you should do is now you found a hot market, barbershops. Who would have thought, right? What you should do next is now go build an audience with barbers. That's what you should do. You should literally go build an audience with barbers. Go find 100 barbers in your 300-mile radius and build an audience with them. And then ask them, what do they want? What do they care about? If they're already using Squire, what is the one thing that they love about Squire? Because if you want to really compete against them, you want to find that subset. And then step 3, give it to them. A lot of times founders do it backwards, right? They don't ask them what they want. They don't find a hot market. They go and build something in a corner and then try to go find random people and just give it to them. You're like, here, buy my software. They're like, who are you? But if you do it the other way around, find a hot market, ask them what they want, which is what the go-to-market piece is, and then you build it, and then you give it to them with the right core product loop, then everything changes. So that was my real goal. So those are my 3 secrets around if you're looking to start a SaaS business. Here's how I go about it. Here's how I would do it again. 3 secrets to start a SaaS business. Number 1, market is everything. Find a hot market, Series B companies. I gave you 7 examples. Number 2, great product is about loops, not features. So think about loops. What is it? What is the core of it? And 3, build an audience first. Do a go-to-market first. Build an audience with the people in that market first, and then figure out what the 80-20 is and go build the product and then go compete. And that's how you can win. So my promise to you today was how these 7 SaaS examples can inspire you to build a scalable SaaS business. SaaS businesses are incredible. They're incredible. There's so many crazy markets out there. Like I just showed my 7 examples. I purposely made it where I'm like, wow, that's super niche and yet huge TAM. That's what's so special about SaaS businesses. So you came over here and a lot of you want to start SaaS businesses. My question to you is, what would happen if you built your SaaS business with this framework and scaled it to, say, I don't know, 3 million ARR and beyond? What would that look like for you? Like if you actually followed this framework, you're like, nope, I'm going to find a hot market. I'm going to build an audience with them. And then I'm going to go give them what they want. And I'm going to go compete. And I can be number 2 in the space or number 1. I can take the wind out of those guys' sails. That's powerful, right? What would happen if you actually did it this way? This is why I always highlight great startups are built on these 3 things. Number 1, market strategy. Number 2, product strategy. Number 3, go-to-market strategy. You got to get all 3 right simultaneously. Is it hard? Yeah. Does it require discipline? Absolutely. But is there a framework to follow? Totally. And the mantra that I always say to you, if you're a longtime follower in my channel, I always say this is like, you got to ship code and close deals. Ship code, close deals. Those are the 2 things that matter the most. And that's how they line up in terms of the 3 things that make a SaaS business successful. Here's the thing. If you follow my strategy, you will transform your path to building a scalable SaaS business. And you'll also avoid months on building the wrong product. Ask yourself a question. If you follow this framework, just at a high level, I know there are details to it, would you ever waste time building the wrong product? The answer is no, because you would have validated, you would find a hot market. That's the power in this. Now, none of this is theory, right? Until now, I shared this entire strategy with my one-on-one clients. I have a couple of one-on-one clients that I work with that are just starting out. Most of my clients are scaling SaaS businesses. That's my bigger program. But I've only shared this strategy with a couple of one-on-one clients that are like, hey, I want to start a SaaS business, and I coach them on this stuff, right? And at this point, I know I can make a greater impact by sharing it with more people like I am over here, which is why I created a course to help you actually navigate this path. Now, this is time proven, it's tested. I didn't invent this. I codified it so you can understand it in a much easier way. And so if you're like, all right, I'm ready to start my SaaS business. I want to find the hot market. I want to build an audience with them. I want to actually validate the core feature set, the 80-20, and then go build it. And that's how I'm going to scale my SaaS business and launch my SaaS business. If you're thinking like, where do I start? Like who's like, hey, I want to actually do this, right? And the question is like, how do you actually go about it? How do you build up the market strategy, the product strategy, go-to-market strategy? How do you make sure you're going after the right market, right? I shared with you how I follow this framework. But obviously, this is just the tip of the iceberg. This is like kind of the tippy toes of how I do this. So you have 2 very clear options going forward. Like you came here, hopefully you learned a ton around this. You can either do it yourself, like kind of go find the hot market. I kind of showed you some of these things, then develop your market, product, go-to-market strategy, or you can follow my framework. You can follow my lead, right? And it's a step-by-step process and training to actually do these steps and find the hot market, build that audience, and then actually go after that market and build the right product, right? So you learned a ton of stuff on why this stuff works. Let me ask you, if you actually committed to following this framework, what would your life and startup look like, say 3 months from now? If you truly you've been like, hey, I want to start, and you're like, nope, I'm going to do this. I'm going to commit to this framework and actually find the hot market, build that audience, and go after it. What would your life and startup look like, say 3 months from now? How much time will you have saved? Instead of dallying around on like, well, maybe this or maybe that, maybe I'll just keep coding because this is my comfort zone. Believe me, I've been there. That's why I know that's the narrative that goes in, right? How much faster could you reach product market fit and revenues? That would be an interesting question too. And what areas of your life would you dramatically change the trajectory of if you actually got coaching on this and followed the framework on this? And how would this impact how you feel about yourself? Like I remember, I call it the Shawshank crawl to product market fit. That's what I call it. And it's a Shawshank crawl because it's horrible. But you know it's worth it in the end. You know if you stick to it, it's worth it. And so how would you feel about yourself if you actually got through that crawl? And what would this mean for your life and your career if you did this? Like you're not here for no reason. You're here because you really want to start a SaaS business and scale it. And I did this. It was one of the most rewarding things I've ever done. But obviously, there are certain things that come in the way, right? Like how will you navigate the Shawshank crawl to product market fit? How will you sort through the millions of hours of conflicting startup advice that's out there on the internet? There is a lot of advice. A lot of times from people that have never done it. Like that's the crazy thing to me. I've actually done this. There are people that have never even scaled a business to $1 million and they're giving advice. I'm like, why are you doing this? Number 3, how will you reconcile the conflicting advice the 50 mentors in your accelerator will give you? Like I've been part of accelerators. There's nothing wrong with them. I'm partnered with them, but Mentors are not always helpful because you go in, you'll talk to 50 mentors. They all give you different advice. You don't hear from them again. And they're kind of doing this because, they don't have skin in the game. They just want to feel good about themselves. That's why they're mentoring. Like, how will you deal with that? And how will you tether yourself to a core strategy that you can actually refine over time as you learn more about the market, which is also important in this? How will you do all these pieces, right? So this is why I created my SaaS launch program. What if you had help? All right. So number one, what if you had a step-by-step framework you can follow to develop the strategy for your startup, to actually get your market, product, go-to-market strategy just solid? What if you had an actual step-by-step framework for it? What if you had a curated set of content, my best content on exactly how to develop and codify your market, product, and go-to-market strategy? I've curated this. I've also got inside a step-by-step training. All comes together. What if you had access to that? What if you had a peer group of like-minded founders on the same journey? Being a founder is lonely. No one else understands what you're going through. It's super hard. And if you have a peer of people that are doing the Shawshank crawl, it's that much better. Trust me, like, it makes a world of difference. What if you had that? And also, what if you had access to ask me anything as you codify your strategy, right? You could like literally just talk to me and like, hey, TK, like, here's what I'm thinking about it. So this is why, for those of you that want an actual framework to follow, this is why I created my SaaS launch program that can help you launch and scale your SaaS business to the next stage of growth. There's 3 key pieces to the program. Number 1, we're going to really hone in on the right market for you. Number 2, we're going to make sure you help you develop your value prop. And number 3, I'm going to teach you how to use this thing called an unstoppable mini funnel to actually build that audience and ask them what they want. So if you truly want to do Squire, for example, not saying you have to go after Squire, but if you truly want to do that, then you can actually connect. I'll use the mini funnel to connect with barbers and then figure out what the 20% is that you need to build for your product. So I give you the 3 things that you absolutely need. And here's exactly what you get. You get my training on my 10-point SaaS business checklist, like actual training that walks you through this to help you codify your strategy. You get the step-by-step training on how to create a market, product, and go-to-market strategy. You get detailed training on how to codify your value proposition, even if it's in the middle of a global pandemic. You get my battle-tested template to codify into a 1-page strategy that you can iterate over time. You get the training and the spreadsheet templates for tracking the right SaaS metrics as you start to get your product out there. And you also get my unstoppable mini funnel training, which I should have mentioned in here. Additionally, you also get access to my private community. All right. You get access to my private community where I have private content. You can ask questions. You get access to me. And also you get access to my monthly group Zoom call. My monthly group Zoom call where you can come on. And as you're working through all of this, you can literally get on hot seats with me one-on-one, and we can just talk through what you're working through. And I'll give you coaching and feedback. And all of this will help you actually build and scale a SaaS business without losing months on building the wrong product. You'll actually go after a hot market. You'll connect with those people and you'll build an 80-20 product and you'll actually be able to compete. All of that comes together. And here's exactly what you get. All right. So you get all of this pieces. Oh, there we go. Here's actually exactly what you get. So this is a sneak peek into inside the program. This is all the training that you get. There's so much more, and we're constantly adding to it. And I'm confident in saying this is the most comprehensive training on starting a SaaS business out there on the internet, period. That's how much confidence I have around this. Now, I want to make sure you're here. All of you are still here. Let me check on YouTube really quick as well. There's more people than ever watching. So all of you guys are here. So I want to sweeten this for you just a little bit. All right. I want to add in some bonuses. So bonus number 1 is one thing that I learned, especially when you're starting out. Half the game is your mindset as a founder. The other half is execution. So I actually have this other program that helps you get your mindset right as a founder. So you get access to that as well. Completely free. It's my Unstoppable Life Accelerator. It gives you just like the core. Like one thing I learned as being a startup founder is it's not about just working all the time. It's about, getting your mindset right. It's about having the right rituals. It's about adding value in the right places. It's about knowing when to step away because you're creating more bugs than features. So you get access to my Unstoppable Life Accelerator training as well. I wrote a whole book on it. You get access to all of it. It's super, super powerful. The second thing you get access to, and I was going to launch this last year. I'm actually launching it this year. I'm coming out with a book. One thing that I did is my entire time that I was building out Tout App, every year I would do a year in review, like a year in reflection. So you get a lot of business books where they write it after and it's all like sugar coated. I wrote this every year. And what I've done is put it all together with a narrative on everything I learned as I was during the 10-year journey of ToutApp. So you'll see like what happened when I quit my 6-figure job, how I like tried out different ideas, how I decided between bootstrapping and raising money, what happened when I doubled down on ToutApp, reaching cash flow break even in Series A, like all those like literally play by plays. That's in this book called Ship Code Close Deals. I'll give you free access to it as soon as it comes out. So you get access to my book as well. And then also, if you join today, literally, this is only available today. I don't do one-on-one calls anymore. I just don't. It's very rare. Only for like the top tier members of my go-to-market program, which is my flagship program. But if you join today, I'm gonna give you a 30-minute Zoom call, just one-on-one, to talk about your strategy. Well, we can talk about your core idea, your path to product market fit, your go-to-market model and design, fundraising, like whatever you want. I'll just give you full. We can talk about that. You get a 30-minute call with me as well. Now, if you were to hire me as part of my SaaS advisory program where I work with CEOs, this is for like at scale businesses, I charge $25K a quarter. Like that's just what I charge in order to like work with them directly. If you were to try and learn everything that I teach in this course by doing it yourself, this is like 100+ hours of books that I've had to read, courses, spreadsheets, documents, also just like trial and error over 10 years, assuming like, let's just say, $29 an hour, it would cost you at least $3,000, not to mention the time, which you don't have, right? So, if you just want to work one-on-one with me, like all the time, like hang out 25K a quarter, like hit me up. You're more than welcome to. If you want to do it yourself, that's like over $3,000 and hundreds of hours that you'd have to spend. Like it's insane, right? And so the question is, how much is the investment to master it yourself? Right? To like kind of get the cheat codes and the framework and the coaching. That's why coaching exists. That's why these frameworks exist, to actually give you the cheat codes. Now, look, I set a goal this year. I want to help 10,000 people live unstoppable lives. That includes SaaS founders to build incredible SaaS businesses. That includes all founders to have the right mindset in their lives. So this is why I built Unstoppable. This is why I do what I do. And so it's not $25,000 for this investment to join, right? It's also not $3,000. Since you're taking the time to invest in your startup strategy by being on this training with me, I've made a special limited time offer for you. You can join the SaaS launch program today at the price of basically $2K, $1,995 with these exclusive bonuses. You get access to everything that we talked about. So you'll get access to the training, so a 10-point SaaS business checklist, the training and spreadsheet template. You get access to the step-by-step training on how to craft a market, product, go-to-market strategy, my battle-tested templates on one-page strategy, the Unstoppable mini funnel training, how to craft a value proposition, all of that. You get access to my private community of other SaaS founders. You get my monthly call every month. And this is for life, by the way. It's $2K for life. You get access to it for life. It's not like you got to renew next year or anything like that. It's $2K. You get access to all of this content in the monthly group Zoom calls for as long as I run them. You get access to everything. So monthly Zoom calls. You get access to the Unstoppable Mindset program. You get access to the book that's coming out. You also get the 30-minute strategy call with me so that you can actually build a scalable SaaS business. You can actually get to doing it. So if you want to join, if you're like, hey, I want in, this is awesome, all you need to do is go to tkkader.com/launch. I will share the link, or you can click on the button below and you can go right into it. Let me just share the link. And it's super easy to get started. You get access to everything right away. I will share it over here as well. Boom. So it's super easy, and you get all the things that I talked about. Now remember, if you want to just work one-on-one, like literally just one-on-one, it's $25K a quarter. That's what it is. If you want to go figure it out on your own, it's hundreds of hours of books, spreadsheets, trial and error, 10 years of just like making mistakes, honestly speaking, the twists and turns of that. And yet you can short circuit all of that. And that would cost you $3,000 just on your own time. And so instead, what you're going to get is you can just get the cheat codes, the step-by-step framework to follow, and it'll save you a ton of time. And you can actually start building that scalable SaaS business with the right strategy. Now, remember, if all this did was just get you to break out of your regular patterns and feel determined on Monday, would this be worth it, right? You can go at it alone, but the thing that sucks when you're alone, and I've done this, is like there's less accountability. There's no framework to follow. It's almost like trying to build a web app and you're not using Ruby on Rails. You're just trying to do it in Ruby or C. Frameworks make life easier. And that's why I was like, there should be a framework for starting a SaaS business. That's why I created this for founders like you guys. I wish this existed when I was doing this for the first time around. So enroll now. Just go to tkkader.com/launch. You'll get all the details around the program. You can enroll right away. You get access to everything right away. And here's the thing, you know, you're here and like 95% of you are still here, which is amazing to me, right? There's so many people on this right now. The thing that I always ask is, you know, you're here for a reason. It means that you're serious about building a SaaS business. We only get a certain amount of time on earth, 79 years on average. What will it cost you if you don't try to become the best version of you that is building this business, right? Like, what is that? What is the cost of that? A lot of times we're like, oh my God, that's so much, like, you know, I don't want to pay to get coaching. It's like, cool, you can do it on your own, but what is the cost of your own time? And what is the cost savings if you actually reduce that time to get to results? Like, what is the power in that? What is the investment in that? And that makes a big difference. And even for me, like before I got coaching, I was skeptical. And then when I got coaching, it made the world a difference. And I was like, oh my God, I would pay double that because I was able to follow a framework, and that works so well. So that's literally why I created the SaaS launch program. That's why I do this. If for some of you, you're like, hey, I already have revenues, I just want to scale faster, then the launch program is not for you. Then you want to go to the go-to-market program. That's a separate program that I have, and I tell you about that inside of that page as well. You can click through to it. But the launch program is for you if you're just starting out your SaaS business and you want to make sure you have a framework to follow and you have coaching. And ultimately, like, you know, it comes down to the tale of two people. Are you going to be the person that says, I'm going to go do this? Like, I'm serious about building a SaaS business and actually starting. I don't want to be a wantrepreneur. I don't want to just keep talking about it. I actually want to figure this out. And now I actually have actionable steps to follow to get to that. I know how to find the right ideas. I know how to hone in on what I'm going to be great at. I know how to actually connect with the people. Like, there's literally no excuses left. So it's up to you on, are you going to be the person that's like, I want to go close deals and ship code? Or are you going to be a person like, I don't know, let me think about it. And like, maybe it'll happen one day. And that's what you want to figure out. So tkkader.com/launch. And by the way, I just want to say this one last thing. Like, I'm nothing special. I'm just a kid from Bangladesh that decided I wanted more, right? Like, I immigrated. This is a picture of my brother and I love this picture. It's like, it's just like, we're just kids. This is when I was like thinking about starting my next business, and I just went for it. I went for it. And that's really what it takes. And then you want to make sure that you go for it, and then you de-risk the execution as much as possible so that you stack your likelihood of success towards you. That's it. And so I'm no one special. I'm just the guy that was like, all right, cool, let's do this. And I was fortunate enough to have mentors and coaches along the way that helped me succeed. And now this is what I do, because I'm like, there's just not enough of that that's codified in a system. And that's why I do this, right? There's not enough out there that, like, people that have literally done this. I did this for the last 15 years. And then people that can actually take that and turn it into a framework. I've done that. And now actually help founders do it and build scalable SaaS businesses. I'm no one special. It's because I care enough, and I have the discipline to do it. And I had the help and the framework, and that's what I'm sharing with you. And that's why I'm doing this. So imagine what this will be if you actually execute on this. Go to tkkader.com/launch. Now we have a couple of minutes left. I want to thank you guys all for staying. If there are questions that you'd like me to answer, hit me up with any questions that you have, and then we'll close out. Just put it in the chat, and we will go from there. I'll give it 5 seconds while I drink some water. If there are any questions that come up, I'll answer them, and then we'll take it from there. Okay, one question that came up is how do the monthly calls work? So the way the monthly calls work is basically we have a Zoom call every month, and you get access to it. And before you get on the call, you can submit a request to come on a one-on-one hot seat with me. And what you're able to do is actually go in and submit beforehand, like, hey, TK, here's what I want to talk about, or here's my question, or I want to review my strategy. And so when you do that, I bring you on one at a time, and you and I just talk one-on-one, and then I help you through where you're at, and make sure that you're getting the support that you need. And the power in that is you learn, but everyone else on the call learns as well, because a lot of times it's core principles that we're talking about. And so I always highlight, like, hey, here's like how to think about this. Here's the right video to watch. Here's the part of the training to go into. And that makes a big difference. So that's how those calls work. So another question that came up is, let's see, I want to make sure I cover. Yeah, can you explain the mini funnel in more detail? Absolutely. So one of the things that we teach you in the program is how to run your mini funnel. So a lot of times, so we have a bigger program that's your unstoppable funnel. That's when you know your ICP, your strategic message, you have the right product market fit. Mini funnel is less about getting people to buy your product. It's more about collecting and building an audience with people that are your ideal buyers. And so what the mini funnel does is it helps you create the right marketing funnel that helps you to get on as many customer conversations and sales conversations as possible. So you can start to understand the market, understand what the 80-20 is and what you need to be building, and then sell them what you're building and get them on a pilot. That's what a mini funnel is. And it's a specific way to implement it. We give you the tools, the step-by-step process on how to build a mini funnel. Excuse me. And so what it does is it helps you build an audience with your target customers, so that, because early on, you're not trying to sell them on your product because you don't have it fully built, but you are looking to get into sales conversations. So the mini funnel is designed to help you do that. I've used it before. It's super powerful, really gets the momentum going on everything. Okay, cool. I think we're out of time and we're out of questions. I want to thank you guys for joining. I had a blast. I hope you got value from this. I look forward to, for those of you that signed up, I look forward to seeing you inside of the program and our monthly coaching calls. I'm really excited about working together. We're going to be doing more lives. So if you have specific topics you want me to cover, especially in a live, put it in the comments below. If there's specific topics you want me to cover just overall in the YouTube channel, let me know in the comments below as well. If this is your first time, welcome. I do a live like this maybe like once a quarter. And if you guys want more, I'm happy to do more of these. Most of the time we do 3 videos a week where we actually help you start, scale, and grow your SaaS business. We talk about product strategy, marketing strategy, sales strategy, overall go-to-market strategy, pricing strategy, all these things. We go deep into that to give you actionable strategies on how to grow your SaaS business. So if you're new, be sure to hit the subscribe button and that bell icon, that way you'll get notified every single time I drop an episode. If you got value from this, if you learned a few things, if you're inspired by the 7 SaaS examples and how to find the right market by looking at Series B company, if you got value from that, make sure you smash that like button as well. If you have a friend, a fellow co-founder that will get value from this channel, be sure to share it with them. Just link to them. We want to impact as many SaaS founders as possible. And we also have a set of playlists in our channel. So we have a playlist around starting. We have a playlist around how to quit your job to start a SaaS business. We have a playlist on scaling, go-to-market strategy, growth strategy. So check out those playlists as well if you're new. And you'll be able to see all our prior episodes where we just purely talk strategies. This one was a special live because we just put together this launch program. We want to bring on as many founders as possible and help them start and scale their SaaS businesses in 2021. So that's why we wanted to do this. I want to thank you guys for joining. I had a blast. Hopefully you did too. And I will see you in the next episode. I'm TK. Have a great one.